Hello everyone and welcome to this Triangles Meditation Group webinar. Today is June 10th, 2024. We're so glad to have all of you joining us here today. This webinar aims to support the Triangles Network by joining together once a month in meditation and discussion on this important activity. Triangles, of course, is first and foremost a means of service, and those of us who regularly lend our strength, their love, their thought, and their will to this work, understand that it is more about what you put in, that is, what you give, than what you receive. And so this spirit of giving underlies all service work, but especially triangles, for it is the purity of intention, the spirit of sacrifice, and the love for the whole which makes the network magnetic and effective. And so not only do we welcome everyone today, but we also honor with reverence your contribution to this work. Thank you all. A very special welcome, of course, to anyone who is joining us for the first time today or who is new to Triangles. I'll offer now just briefly a brief description of this work, but more information of it can be found online on our website. So please feel free to call or write to us, and we're happy to discuss further. So in short, Triangles is a service activity which uses the power of thought and of prayer to uplift and transform consciousness. The way it works is that 3 people agree to link in thought each day. They close their eyes and they visualize themselves as the 3 points of a triangle. The light and goodwill which each generates is what creates the strands of energy or etheric energy between them. They then picture their triangle within the network of triangles surrounding the planet, and they sound the great invocation, a world prayer, adding their spiritual contribution to the whole. The aim is to uplift human consciousness and aid in the spiritual evolution of humanity and our planetary life. And so this webinar is an excellent way to support the daily practice, but also to introduce family and friends to the work of Triangles and the ideas and the purposes which underlie it. Even though it's a very simple practice, it's not always so easy to explain this work in a way that communicates its simplicity and also its profound efficacy as a means of doing real and lasting good in the world. And so we invite you to invite anyone in your life, friends, family, acquaintances, anyone who you think may be interested to join us on this second Monday of every month for this webinar. And of course, this webinar also acts as a platform to aid in the forming of new triangles. So if anyone is interested in forming a triangle, please put your name in the chat box, and I'm sure we can find 2 others to join you. And in fact, I already see here a few people have posted, so thank you all. So today I will share just a few thoughts on the spirit of giving, which will lead into our reflective meditation on the Great Invocation. And then we will have a longtime Triangles member, Jen Louie, share some thoughts on the everyday road to the soul. We will then close with our meditation in support of the Triangles network. And so as we begin, let us take a moment to link up in thought, in recollection, and in a spirit of group unity. And we'll sound together the noontime recollection, followed by a single sounding of the sacred word, the Om. We know, O Lord of life and love, about the need. Touch our hearts anew with love, that we too may love and give. It's a really beautiful mantra, and it's actually one of my favorites, I think, perhaps because it's so simple. And in this simplicity, it seems to cut right to the very essence of what it means to serve, what it means to be a disciple, what it means to really to be spiritual. I think sometimes these these things can be really the essence of things so often can be lost in a maze of words. So it's nice to have that simplicity. But it's important also, I think, to reflect on the purity of this mantram, for it asks really nothing for the separated, like any great prayer, it asks nothing for the separated self except for that skill to love more and to give more. It orients one so directly and with such reverence to the very spirit of giving, which is the spirit of love itself. If we were all to fully live up to this ideal, we would find ourselves in such a state of magnetic potency, of effectiveness and service, that the redemptive power of our network should certainly be much more effective than it is today. This purity of intention, of desire, of aspiration, and of thought, all is a potent means of invocation, that is, the bringing through of spiritual energies into form. And so when considering love, and when considering the spirit of giving, the mind is drawn naturally to another important spiritual quality, that of sacrifice. The teachings state that the spirit of sacrifice is present whenever the will aspect of deity is touched, even to a very small degree. And so when the soul makes alignment with this life-giving force, the impulse behind the will of God, which is love, touches our hearts and our minds, and it becomes in us the impulse to participate in that will and in the spirit of divine sacrifice. All throughout the cosmos, this spirit of sacrifice is seen repeated again and again as the greater gives itself under spiritual law to the lesser. And this idea of the greater giving itself to the lesser is the true essence and ideal of hierarchy. The teachings, or the ageless wisdom philosophy, the esoteric philosophy, posits that all creation is a great chain of linking lives, all in unbroken relationship. So this great chain of hierarchy is fundamentally built upon the qualities of right relationship, which include responsibility, love, and of course sacrifice. All true spiritual achievement therefore bestows the responsibility to give one's newfound power and talent, whatever it is, to the furtherance of those whose spiritual evolution can profit by it. This impulse to give and to serve underlies the whole doctrine of avatars of the religions of the East, and in the West it underlies the whole doctrine of the forgiveness of sins. Divine forgiveness is in fact another way of speaking about the possibility of redemption, which is made possible only through the sacrifice of great beneficent lives, such as our planetary logos. This redemption occurs through the process of evolution, and it's the sacrifice of great beings, really all of those beings above us on the chain of hierarchy, which make this evolution possible. But in every case, love is always the motivating factor in giving, whether it's sacrifice or divine forgiveness of any sort. And so this is why love is so intrinsically tied to the working of the law of evolution itself. For together they sustain the divine circulatory of life throughout the entire body logoic. this Logos being himself commonly referred to as the divine sacrifice. His sacrificial nature is the essence of the phrase, God is love, for love always signifies giving and sacrifice. And it is the same idea that also lies behind another familiar statement that the will is an expression of the law of sacrifice. For it is the divine will that all things should be carried forward, and sacrifice, or giving, are the major means by which this is brought about. Divine sacrifice and love underlie the creative process at every level, human and planetary. And so as we carry on with our triangles work today, let us keep in mind the spirit of sacrifice, which is inherent in and is in many ways the will of the great life in which we live and move and work. Let us take part in his grand scheme with reverence for the divine impulse of giving which lies within all of us, and which we have the profoundest privilege to give forth, to call forth. And so now, without any further ado, let us begin with the sort of first phase of our subjective work today. We're going to do a reflection on the Great Invocation. And so we begin by linking in thought as souls, as points of love and light with all those people throughout the world who are part of the Triangle's service work. We visualize the world's situation as best we can, seeing people everywhere glowing with a dim light, and here and there, points of brighter light where men and women of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. And then visualize, through the creative imagination, the vivid light of the spiritual kingdom, streaming towards humanity and slowly merging with the light which is already in humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. And now ponder upon the reappearance of the coming world teacher. Realize that no matter by what name he may be called in the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. Reflect and speculate upon the possible results of his reappearance. And sound the second stanza. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. Endeavor to concentrate your fixed intention to serve and to spread love in your surroundings, and realize that insofar as you can do these things, you are attempting to blend your personal will with the divine will. And now say this stanza 3 of the invocation. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. We sound the Om, dedicating the threefold personality to the working out of the divine plan. Om. and I'll hand it over to our colleague, Jen Louie. Thanks so much. Jen, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. And hello to all of you who are joining us. This little talk, The Everyday Road to the Soul, will not be news. It's kind of a remaking of what we already know. Sometimes it feels like it's good to go back and revisit some of those early stages on our paths, and maybe this will be a bit of insight to those just starting out. So, for many thousands of years, the human race has, through grace or tears, found its way along a path of lighted recognitions, each one a bit brighter than the previous. We have gone from being mandatory survivalists to being attuned to those intangible things which dictate our trajectory as living sentient beings. The way has necessarily been slow, with occasional setbacks and lives of static existence, but eventually, each one of us comes to a rise in our inner landscape from which we can sense the pull of a manifestation of life bigger than just us. We feel compelled to follow this beckoning energy, and we begin our trek towards that thing we call a soul. You, on this webinar, you are likely on that journey now. When we're just starting out in search of our souls, we're probably doing two things at once. We're living and we're noticing. This involves a lot of acclimating ourselves to a much different daily landscape than the one the world presents. We might start to notice that engaging in our lives as we always have no longer feels as fulfilling. We make inner corrections that impact our outer movement, all in an effort to get ourselves in sync with something that feels as fundamental as breathing. This ability to shift perceptions and see our lives, and the entire world for that matter, from a whole new perspective is informed by a deep knowing, a knowing often referred to as the intuition. Everyone has it. Even animals have it, though with them we're told it's more of a wild instinct than a thoughtful revelation. Intuition in the human is more of an organic knowing that something is true. To learn to pay attention to it and follow it with discrimination is an important part of being on a path towards the soul. Of course, not every intuitive revelation comes with fireworks, and it is often within the mundane actions of daily life and living that the soul will call to us. It is good to keep in mind that the communication we establish with our soul can move from within us outward, and then from the soul inward to our consciousness. As this is so, in our everyday lives, we're often given quick moments of depth, moments of magnetic pull, which provide us a mechanism of approach. This pull may guide us to stop in the moment to comprehend something of indescribable beauty, or it may inspire us towards acts of creativity. All we need at first is to listen and then take simple action. Is there a sunset of exquisite beauty outside your window? Watch it until the colors fade to gray. Do you feel an urge to do something, anything, but spend another day on the couch watching TV? Sing, paint with vibrant colors, dance in your living room, write beautiful words. Any of these actions, in their beauty and simplicity, are tiny moments of soul contact. Done over and over with joy and focus, we are strengthening our line of approach. We are creating more mature minds and hearts, and this in turn will provide quicker access to the communion we seek. Creativity is a bridge between the soul and the human. The act of creation puts us in touch with the lines of beauty and strength which flow from our soul towards us. Many civilizations over time have recognized that the power of such simple actions puts us squarely in the moment. And being in the moment invites the soul in. Ancient philosophers felt that to get to this point, we could choose to temporarily step away from our lives and for a short or long period of time, sit squarely in the moment with ourselves. This is meditation. One-pointed focus, blending the mind and heart, can take us to that place of clarity and creativity with the bonus of a peaceful, content mind. In meditation, the moment itself is the thing created. What we decide to do with that moment is up to us, but we will likely come to a place on our journey where we see that we can have a real impact on our physical world using the power of our minds. From that point onward, our journey changes. The everyday road to the soul can be found within hundreds of existing actions, like accessing the power of meditation by simply stepping away from our lives for a few minutes. Some of the more powerful actions come with a solid foundation of science behind them. Something as basic as creating sound or speaking has, within esoteric scientific teachings, a potent impact on our surroundings. In the books by Alice Bailey, speech is called the most occult manifestation in existence. She also says, when we speak, we evoke a thought and make it present. Speech reveals, and right speech can create a form of beneficent purpose. It's good to remember as we live our lives of everyday activities that the sounds we make, combined with the words we speak, will create a thing which did not exist before we spoke. Another everyday concept is love. But it's not love as we have likely been taught. Sentiment has its place, but if we are talking about the kind of love utilized by our soul, we must take the concept out of its human sheath and approach the world in a new way. Alice Bailey, in one of her lectures on the myth of Hercules, put it like this, starting with the well-known words of the Christ. "A new commandment I give you, that you must love one another." This is no sentiment, she says. Let us be loving and kind. That is just decent behavior. The love that the Christ enunciated is an intelligent understanding and appreciation of the need of the individual just as you find him. The words "just as you find him" need to take hold of us as we pursue the path of our soul, because it's not our need to save or love that should be our focus, but the need of the individuals we engage with. One of the most potent concepts ever created by the thinking mind of humanity, one which has the potential to impact the course of events on our planet, is what is sometimes called the science of collective intentionality, or the science of shared intent. In the Alice Bailey books, the Tibetan refers to it as massed intent. Everyone who has ever attended a sports event has experienced a kind of massed intent. It's a powerful coming together of thoughts where everyone is intensely focused on one outcome. You've likely heard sportscasters use the phrase, "The atmosphere is electric." That's because it is. It is emotionally electric. At a sporting event, this electricity is right there surrounding us, just waiting to be focused towards a higher purpose. To do this, we would need to switch from a strictly emotional expression to a mental expression. In the book White Magic, it said, "The race is progressing into an era wherein thought power will be used for appeal and for the guidance of the world, as now physical and emotional means are employed." The science behind the approach says that the power lies in the strength of the request and the energy thus created. So the more human minds which are focused on the shared intent, the more energy is being created around that intent. Energy which can and will bring about change. And such is the evocation of triangles. When we pool our minds to create an ideal form, the triangle of light, we are literally bringing light by means of thought power into our world. The triangles we visualize become part of the etheric energy of our planet and are strengthened each time we focus on them. The more of them there are, and the more power we give them through our united intent, the better they define the energetic envelope of our planet. Light attracts more light, and on and on. This enhances the overall life of humanity and the earth itself. The use of our minds, as we pool them with a great many others, is on its way to becoming an everyday approach to righting the ship of the world. Along these lines, there is a phrase we use every day to denote thinking clearly. We tell each other to use your common sense. This phrase has become a way to infer that someone is not being very smart, but the ancient and original meaning of this phrase, common sense, was based on the belief that when you synthesized and unified all of your five senses, sight, sound, hearing, taste, and touch, you created one overarching and superior common sense. Literally, the living mind. Which brings us back to the soul. In our everyday lives, when we truly use our minds, we are using the greatest tool the soul has to reach us. To think, to formulate, to perceive, these are qualities of the soul. If we give ourselves the opportunity to think and to wonder, the soul inches closer. The everyday road to the soul can be traveled by every kind of individual. We don't need to be scholars. We just need to have the will.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was a really excellent presentation and a lot to reflect on and to take in there. So I don't want to rush us, but it's difficult, really, I think, to talk about the soul because, sort of as you highlighted, it is, it's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the fire, it's in the joys of the daily life. It's present all the time, so it's almost the act of talking about it almost others it in a way. So you did a very good job, I think, bringing that forward. So thank you very much. I think everybody here can sort of identify with what you shared. So thank you. But we have some time now before we need to move into our meditation, maybe like 9 minutes or so. And so I'd like to open the floor to anybody from the audience who would like to make a comment, ask a question, especially if it's about the Triangles Network, or about our theme today, of course. So you can, to make a comment, you can raise your hand by going to the reactions toolbar in your Zoom toolbar, click reactions, and then raise hand, and we'll unmute you. Lots of fine comments in the chat. I see a really nice one here from Fabio, but it's a private one, so I won't read it out. I've lost my mouse, so I can't read anymore, but yeah, I think part of the triangles, the idea behind the triangles network, that this type of very deep, very esoteric, very meaningful subjective service can still be so accessible, to me is very much tied into the simplicity of the soul itself, and the idea that the soul is, in fact, who we are. It's the thinking part of us. It's the actual I consciousness. Right. Nowadays, not nowadays, but often, in the psychological discourse, there's that term ego. Usually people used to refer to the separated self, as the bad part of the self, the separated, the one that's what we would call the personality. But in fact, in esotericism, in the ageless wisdom tradition, ego is often denoted with a capital E, and is to denote the actual self, like the true self, the sort of personality, not really being just a vehicle, a psychological vehicle in a way, but still just a vehicle, so not the self. And so we don't use that term ego to denote the little self, just the soul self, which seems a bit highfalutin, but in fact it's actually much more simpler, because simply the self is the self, and when you remove all those distractions, all the separateness and everything else, you're left with something quite simple, in fact.
Right.
And I think that's the essence of really what we're doing here with triangles. Yeah. Just removing all the stuff, and meditation's the best way to do that. I mean, close your eyes, meditate, visualize, and at first it may be a little challenging, racing thoughts and stuff, but I think before too long it's, removed from the accelerating pace of the world. People find quite easily they can, in a very natural way, link up with those innate spiritual qualities and connect with others in that way. I think
that is exactly it, Michael. This is all very natural, actually. We've been given a lot of astounding information in the Alice Bailey books that take us to very high planes of thought and are sometimes a little hard to comprehend. So it's just a strengthening of our minds to be able to read them and comprehend. But what it all comes down to really is simplicity, simplifying. We can be very broad, as the books are, and that's really wonderful because we are given answers and guidance, or we can just go on living our lives, our everyday lives, and we can say, okay, I'm going to meditate now, and here's what I saw today that brought me into closer sync with what I feel is my soul. This conversation with this person was a closer link with my soul, their soul. I was thinking the other day about what the future is going to look like, and along these lines, it's not going to look much different than everything looks now. It's just that we will have found our simplicity, and our simplicity is basic and intrinsic to being human. And all of these things we will be doing using the power of the mind to create. They will also happen in a very simple way. It's not like we're all of a sudden going to start wearing spandex space suits and live in strange.
Well, with fashion trends, you never know.
Right.
But
futuristic fashion trends. Right. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that way. Our future is very much like our present. It's just we will be a bit further along that path of understanding and putting ourselves to focus and to work. The potential is all here, and that's what we're waking up now by the study we do. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. That's great. Yeah. So any comments? Usually we have some hands raised, and I think people are just feeling reflective. Maybe they don't want to turn their audio on. Some people asked for the talk. We don't have a transcript, but we'll post it on the Triangles blog in the coming days. We have a message here from a few comments. I'll just read them out. From Yadelsi. I can't wait until massed intent is utilized for humanitarian and good efforts as much as it is in sports. That's a good point. I was about to say, well, we do have mass intent for humanitarian efforts, but I suppose, yeah, it's nothing like there is in the
right.
world of sport at all, yeah.
Right.
And then another by Matthew Martin. Excellent talk, worth reading again. So many keys, such as the power of shared intent. He says, another key is listening, then following what resonates as true or good in one's heart intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Violet Filipowitz says, to live daily as if the soul. I see there's a hand from David Trice, so I'll ask to unmute. I don't have my cursor, so that's why I can't. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, David, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to share a prayer that Alex Bailey provides for inspiration from the soul. It goes like this. May the energy of the divine self inspire me. May the light of the soul direct. May I, through that spiritual energy which is myself, be led from darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, from death to immortality. I don't know where in the Alex Bailey books it is, but if you search the CD-ROM on the keywords, you should be able to find it. Thank you. I just wanted to share that.
David.
Thank you so much, David, yeah. John, I always forget to pronounce your last name. I'm so sorry. You'll have to say it. Heron? You'll have to say it. I'm sorry.
John, it's John Haran, Michael.
Haran, that's right. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I apologize for the quality of my audio. I'm in transit right now. The point that really struck me was in the talk where she was describing how we're all familiar with massed intention in sports events. The interesting part being that that's two sets of group perhaps intending against one another. And the idea that we trained people could go and harness this energy and put it to good and proper use without endangering themselves psychically absolutely fascinates me. So my one comment was I would appreciate any insight or guidance about that and perhaps developing those skills amongst the group of world servers in days to come. With that, I'll return it to you.
I missed. Did you?
I'm not sure.
I think you're. Sorry, John. Could you just repeat your question? It was the the question was about skills. What
Yes.
exactly?
Yeah, my apologies. I'm in the mountains at this point. At a sport event, we have massed intention, but two groups set against one another. It would be most helpful if we could receive some guidance or training as to trained meditators attending these kind of mass events to properly direct the energy of intentions that are present there. So I thought I'd put that out there. Maybe that's something that the group of world servers can concentrate on in days to come.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now, John. I think what I was getting at by saying we can sense this at an event like a sporting event, I was getting at the power that lives in a situation like that. Not that we should necessarily use our collective intent to try to win a game or make the other side lose or any of that. This is more about when groups get together, they do create this astounding energy that the more we understand it, the more we can focus it into more benevolent outcomes. Not about the winning or losing of the game, but the freeing of humanity from what it's caught up in. There are any number of ways to say that, but yeah, there are many examples of groups coming together and feeling their emotional resolve. If we could just refocus that to positive mental focus. We've got these groups in place. We just need to get them on board with taking a few minutes to use that power of mind, that united power of mind, for good, the good of all.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. That was very good, and thank you, John, for your question. I would also add to that, and what's remarkable about the sports events, aside from the competitive and separative atmospheres, the intensity of desire,
Yeah.
which actually consecrated desire or aspiration, the intensity of it is really key to effective invocation.
Yes.
And especially when you're looking at mass invocation or massed intent. So definitely some things we can learn from everything, you know. And yeah, so great. Thank you so much, Jen,
Thanks,
and thank you for everybody on the webinar. We do now need to move into our meditation. So we're going to do that now. So we begin by coming together as a unity upon the plane of mind. We identify as souls with the world group functioning through 3 planetary centers in London, Geneva, and New York as a triangle of light. We extend identification through the soul to the new group of world servers, to the hierarchy, and to the Christ, the transcendent point of synthesis at the center of every triangle, and to the triangle of energies standing behind the Christ. Identify the center Shambhala, the center of purpose and power. We recognize the synthesis of three streams of cosmic energy within Shambhala, where the will of God is known. And we sound the dedication. In the center of the will of God I stand. Naught shall deflect my will from His. I implement that will by love. I turn towards the field of service. I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square and serve my fellow men. Visualize a network of lighted triangles underlying the entire outer world of physical life and events. See the network, linking all triangles' units and relating all points of light throughout the world. See the network, relating the world of spiritual realities, the hierarchy, to the world of experience, humanity, and acting as a channel of distribution within humanity for the spiritual energies pouring through the hierarchy. And see the network transforming the planetary etheric vehicle to receive and circulate the energies of the soul and the triad, will, love, and light. Realize that the energies of light, love, and the will to good, evoked by all Triangle's workers, pulsating through the planetary network of triangles, are having an inevitable effect within the three worlds of human evolution, lifting human consciousness, and helping to create the path of light for the feet of the Christ. Reflect on the purpose, function, and right. Reflect on the purpose, function, and right development of the Triangles network as an hierarchical activity. Blended with the group, stand with positive intent as a station of radiant light within the network of light and goodwill. We sound the adapted grid invocation, directing the triple energies through the Triangles network and throughout the consciousness of humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone. Before we go, just a few brief announcements on the screen. We have the upcoming Cancer Full Moon Meditation meetings on Friday, June 21st in all 3 headquarters. The Goodwill Meditation Group webinar will be held later this month on June 26th. That's Wednesday, June 26th. And the next Triangles Meditation Group webinar will be Monday, July 8th. Again, the second Monday of every month. Thank you all, and have a blessed rest of your day.